at Tulsa. We go way back. She's the Auburn coach now, but I'm going to give a little brief bio. All-American at TU, 84 to 88. She won the individual championship on the 88 team. I was on the team with her, but she kicked all of our butts. And I was 88, and she played the LPGA Tour, had 2 wins. From 2000 to 2002, she was our Tulsa coach. And from 2002 to 2015, she went to Arizona State. And they won the national championship in 2009. And then she went to Auburn from 2015 to the present. She made it to the Final Four with her team in 2019 at the Blessings. I was able to watch that. Hall of Fame NCAA player, correct? Melissa Llewellyn. Give her a round of applause. Coach Ryan Hibble. You guys know this man. He's from right next door, Norman. He played golf at Georgia. And I have the years, 2001, 2004. He also worked with AJGA for a little bit. And then you were the assistant at Georgia 05 to 09. So he must have worked for AJGA in between then. Then they pulled him away from Georgia, brought him to Boomer Centerland in 09. And he's been there ever since. NCAA championship team in 2007. They were just runner-up this year in 2021, which is so cool to have you here. Final Four 3, 4 times? Several times. With your team. So many. Number one ranked team, a lot. If you look at golf stat and golf league. So welcome, Coach Ryan Hill. Andy Young, Tulsa head coach. She was an All-American at Oklahoma State. 2001 to 2005. That's when you played Oklahoma State, correct? Yeah. Played the LPGA Tour after that. Was the OSU head coach 2008 to 2011. Then she coached at Cal State Northridge, and then at Colorado State, and we got her here in 2015, right? Yeah. Something like that. Took her team to the American Conference, and they won it this year, and they made it to regionals. They hadn't been since 2011, so welcome, Annie Young. Mike McGraw, probably, I don't have enough paper for this one. Edmond North High School coach. He knew my husband, Bill Roller, back in the day when they coached high school together at James. 84 to 97, correct?
Yes.
OSU assistant from 98 to 2004. Girls and boys coach at Oklahoma State, correct? Women's head coach 2004 to 2005. Head Oklahoma State coach 2006 to 2013. Went over to Alabama for 1 year and was the Sewell doesn't call you his assistant, he calls you your co-coach. And then you went to Baylor, 2014 to present. 3-time NCAA championship coach. OSU and Alabama, and now at Baylor. Author of Better Than I Found It, and a great podcast. I'm his #1 podcast groupie. It comes out every Monday. So his titles are 2000, 2006, and 2014. So welcome, Coach McGraw. Last but not least, Coach Dale. She was my coach at Tulsa University, and Melissa. She was a pioneer of women's golf at TU, and I think in the country. In 1974, she started the program. She's won 4 national titles. First mom, daughter in the NCAA Hall of Fame, Melissa and Coach Dale. He has coached several All-Americans, notably Nancy Lopez. She's like a second mom to me, and just grateful that you're here, and I get emotional talking about her, so I'll stop. So welcome, Coach Dale. I'm glad you guys are here. We're going to have Michael Boyd, who played at Tulsa University, was an All-American, played mini tours back then, Hooters, Web.com, played the PGA Tour for a year, great golf instructor. Now he's opening up his own home health care. He's going to be my MC. He's really fun. So we've got questions that you guys wrote in, we're going to ask, and we've got specific questions for certain coaches, and then we're going to do some general asking, and then if we have time, you guys can ask some too. So be thinking of some good stuff. Got a lot of wisdom here, a lot of great coaching. How many national championships did I just describe here? I think at least 10. So it's huge. All right, Michael.
Okay, thanks, Maggie. Maggie, I help serve on the committee with Maggie, which means Maggie does everything. We just kind of say, yeah, you're doing a great job. So Maggie helps run, and really just makes this tournament go. So I'm excited to be here. I played in this event at Meadowbrook Country Club in 1994. And finished second to Jeff Fahrenbrook by about 35 shots. And anyway, so Only these guys know who that is. All right, so here we go. I grouped some of these questions together. We got some from you guys in advance. I grouped some together. For time, I'll try to kind of chunk them, and we'll just pass this down. Let's just start with recruiting. That seemed like a hot topic. So, coaches, here's the question. The one question is, what top 3 things are you looking for to recruit? And I'd like you to kind of talk about what are some things besides golf and grades you're looking for, and how kind of deep of a dive are you diving into their lives? So we'll start with Coach Mack right here.
Since I'm not recruiting anymore, but I think it's terribly important to watch a prospect and how she reacts with her parents. I think it's extremely important to see how she handles herself when she's in hard trouble. And I think it's important that she realizes that the game of golf is very dignified and they treat the golf course the same way.
I like to see a junior golfer play a bad round of golf because I know that kid's going to play bad when they get to college. So I want to see what that looks like and how they treat volunteers, how they treat people in the scoring tent, their playing partners. So playing bad golf, there's an art to that, and nobody likes playing bad golf, but I love seeing what it looks like in a junior golfer. It tells me a lot about them.
I like a competitive golfer. So, whether it's going good or bad, you're going to fight till the very end. I also am very big on how you treat other people. If you're not going to treat your parents good, probably not going to treat your coach very good when you get to college. So that's very important to me.
Yes, and to piggyback here, and you're going to hear this as a common theme, but we all want you guys to treat your parents in such high regard. And I'm going to tell you the first turnoff for us would be for us to see anybody treat their parents poorly. It's just one of those things that if you've been doing a certain routine in your junior golf career, it's hard for us to change that, especially immediately. So that's something that we think about quite a bit. So for sure, how you interact with your parents, volunteers. One of the questions was how deep do we dive into the recruiting process? I think it's really important for us to get to know all the people in your life, your coaches, any form of high school coach or mentor that you have in your life. They're going to certainly put you up on a pedestal, but it's still important for us to understand, those relationships and get to know, because we're all going to be working together as a family, as a collective unit. So it's really important for us to do that job, but it's also important for you to make sure you give us that information for us to be able to reach out to them and so again, how you treat people, do it in a nice way, for sure.
All great advice there. Certainly things I look for as well, but my number one criteria is how passionate is the young lady, in my case. How passionate is she for the game? Because we're pretty restricted in hours that we're able to direct our student athletes to practice or work out or do things. And I think everybody in this room, at least this panel, knows it takes much more time than that, than just 20 hours a week to get better and keep improving. And so if you're passionate, then your coach doesn't have to tell you to go practice. If you're passionate, you do it because you love the game. It always comes out in college if you're playing for the wrong reasons or you're playing for somebody else.
All right, that's some great advice. So sum up, kids, treat your parents well and put in the extra time, right? I mean, treat everybody around you well. I think back, my dad caddied for me when I was 18 in the USAM, and I was overwhelmed. And I think back to I was kind of a jerk, he was trying his best. So I'm still going to blame him for not being very far. But, you just kind of you look back on it. I'm 45 now, and I go, I probably could have done a better job there. So you kids out there, kind of think twice about what you're saying to your parents, and let's all be good people. All right, let's move on. I do want to direct this question to Coach Mack, just directly. This was for you, but kind of piggyback on what we were saying, what we saw, or what we just heard. What are some of the most significant changes you've seen in recruiting? And I know you're still close to your daughter, so compare what kind of you were able to do recruiting versus what she does now. What are the changes?
I probably broke every rules. But it's very, very structured. And when these coaches come out, they have to designate where they're going, who they're doing, who they're sending, and so on. So it's really special when you see a coach out on the golf course watching you, because it's hard recruiting. It really is.
Hey, Coach, put that up. You have too much wisdom for them not to hear you.
Yeah, just getting
I'm
close.
sorry. No, it's really, when a coach comes out and watches a player, they have flown in, they, have rules and regulations, they are interested in watching you play golf, and believe me, it is a pleasure to watch the talent out there on the golf course. I was blown away today. It is just fantastic. And the main thing that got me was how fast you all play. I wish they could transfer that over to college golf, PGA, PGA. Your speed and your efficiency on the golf course is A+.
All right, thanks, Coach. Let's keep going down the line of recruiting. We've talked about the players and what you're looking for and some mistakes they make. Let's turn our attention to the parents. There's some parents in this room. Raise your hand if you're a parent of a junior golfer. Okay, this one's for you. So take notes. What are the biggest mistakes that parents are making with their juniors in golf, recruiting, that sort of thing? So I'm going to start down here with Melissa because she had to go last, but now she gets to go first.
Oh,
So
they're all gonna answer.
here we go. Everybody's going to answer all the way down.
Well, just like a coach has to be very stoic and not show a lot of negative body language. And my mom was my coach, and I was super sensitive to her body language. Like, you may not think you're doing anything, but if I hit a bad shot, she looked down at the ground, I'm like, oh man, she's just disappointed in me. So your kids are very sensitive to your body language. So keep your eyes at horizon level. Clap for shots. It's something that I'm seeing in junior golf. I'm not seeing a lot of like applause and appreciation for a good shot. So speak anything positive. I think a great tool that coaches do is ask a lot of questions and try to let your junior is trying as hard as it can, and it may not have been a good day. But what did you learn? What can you do better to prepare you for tomorrow? Maybe just 2 simple questions. And sometimes I've had players and they've had to go shot by shot with their parents on the phone after the round, and it's just not. We have a way that we evaluate. We try to teach them how to evaluate their own games. That's without emotion. And so I think that's where between parents and kids trying to coach your kids, or there's a lot of emotion in there. And so I think it's difficult to separate it. Yes, my mom was my college coach, but she was really never my swim coach. And so, it's just hard to set the boundaries. And also, as kids, it's something in psychology called individuation. Like, there's a time that your kid wants to have some time on their own and some ownership of things, and let them sign up for tournaments. Let them write to the coaches. I can tell when a letter is coming from a parent, and that's a big turnoff.
So I've got a story about my own dad who followed me in my junior golf, college golf, amateur golf, whatever. And you guys know those sticks that you sit on. They have a metal bottom that you can stick in the ground, and everybody still uses them to this day. And my dad, I can still hear any of you that have those, and I hear the clink on the cart path. I think about my dad. And I'm going to tell you, when I would hit a poor shot or do something that wasn't that he didn't really like, it got firmer on that cart path, and it drove me crazy. And going back to the body language of parents, and as a 17-year-old male who thought I knew way more than he did, we about got into some fights over this clinking while going on the cart path. So anyway, but getting back to the recruiting side, from a parenting standpoint, I would just say, just some advice: let your player take some ownership in who they are and making phone calls. And whenever those opportunities come to visit schools, parents, do not box out those meetings and let your kids show us their personality. I mean, you'd be shocked at how many folks that roll through all of our offices. And, 80 to 90% of the time is occupied by parent talking. And that's ultimately, I mean, we do need that piece of the pie, don't get me wrong. We all need that. But they need to be the ones, I mean, we're signing up for that player. So really trying to do a great job of letting your player show their personality, let them take some ownership. I love what Coach just said about signing up for tournaments. That's one of our jobs as, their college golf coach too, is trying to help them learn what a great schedule in college golf looks like. And, it's great when parents are involved to a certain extent, but I want my guys to be signing up on their own. Because the deadlines, they need to know. And I'm going to tell you a great story right now that's going on at the U.S. Amateur. And I know you wouldn't mind me saying this because it's a great life lesson. But Logan McAllister, who's one of my better players, he was accepted to the U.S. Amateur because of his World Amateur Golf ranking. Guess where he is not this week? He's not up at Oakmont because he did not sign up on time. Now, that goes against the grain for Logan because he's actually on top of everything, and he did kind of have a malfunction in his mind. But this week, for a guy like him, he had an opportunity to potentially change the trajectory of his career, winning, going and playing the Masters. And guess what? He's in Norman, Oklahoma right now. So, anyway, all the kinds of great stories and life lessons along the way. But parents, let your kids make some mistakes along the way and let their personality shine.
Those are good. That's exactly what I was thinking. One other thing I would say is teach your kids life skills. They're coming to college. They're going to need to know how to do their laundry. They're going to need to know how to cook, how to clean their golf clubs themselves, how to take care of themselves. And so what a great opportunity before you get there to learn these skills. But I echo what they say in regard to let your kids fail. I think we're in a culture or a time that we're very, very afraid to fail. And that's the only way you grow is to fail. And so don't be afraid. You may think it reflects on you. It doesn't. It's part of the process. So don't be afraid of failure.
Excellent. I would say just one thing, Dad. I was going to use 2 or 3 of those, so thank you all. But I would say this. The first time you see your child after they played a golf tournament, make sure the first question you ask is never, what did you shoot? Ever. Talk about something else. Talk about anything in the world other than that. You're going to know the score. You can find out a score pretty easy nowadays. You don't have to ask them the score. Because what ends up happening is we all think we are our score. That's what we think. I'm a 78 today, so I'm not a good person. I'm 68 today. I'm really a good guy. And I don't ever want to go there because we have a whole lot more bad than we have good. Stay away from the score. The score will take care of itself. And just think about the things that bring about a good score and figure out some of those things. But don't ever ask for the score. You can find the score out another way.
It's a very unusual situation to have a father and a mother who are really good golfers. And all of a sudden they find themselves with a daughter at a tiny, tiny age, have a perfect little golf swing, and you think, oh my gosh, we've got something that we're going to have to be careful about. And the main thing was, again, to let her find her way, to give her the opportunity to practice, to do what she wants. She's coming along great, and all of a sudden she says, Mom, I think I want to play tennis. Okay. I don't say a word. Jim doesn't say a word. We take her to tennis practice, and she plays tennis for about half a year. And, I'm crushed. But I don't let her know that. And then all of a sudden she said, tennis is pretty easy. I think I like playing golf because I'm my own enemy. And I thought, okay, we've got a smart kid here. And I'll never forget, she came home one day and she says, guess what? I said, what? She said, I have a job in Meadowbrook. And I said, well, what are you doing? She said, I pick up the balls along the fence that the bowler can't get to, and I get to hit those balls free. And she would get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and shag those balls and hit those balls. That's the pattern that a good golfer really, really benefits from. And a mother and father who could not galley together. Jim and I had to separate because he would get so emotional, and I'd put him in the woods, and I'd go up ahead and be a four caddy. We could not caddy, could not galley at all together. But Academy Awards are won out there because you don't show your emotion, and particularly when you're a coach of a golf team, and you just don't show it. And that's hard.
All right, that's some good stuff. I think what I'm catching on is that, you know, we as parents can do a better job of supporting our kids and what they're doing, and man, not attacking them, right? Like that's the body language. I won't go into my story with my dad, but I resonate with what you're saying over there, Coach.
Michael, real quick,
Yeah.
Melissa's tennis coach is sitting back there. Raise your hand.
There's Melissa's tennis coach.
Sorry.
That's no indictment on you, Coach. That's no indictment on you. All right, let's move on to playing a little bit here. So, tell us what is the most important parts or aspects of the game that top collegiate players excel at. And I kind of want you to just give some examples of some of your own players that you've coached there. So.
Well, the one thing, they never waste a minute. The time management is down pat. They know when they have to study, they know when they have to practice, they know when they have to practice at what. And I've always preached, one does not live by golf alone. You have got to get away from your golf game, and you've got to go out with your friends and have fun and be steady about it. But don't ever bury yourself in the game because it'll come up and bite you.
I think something along the same lines is just learning perspective. Nobody in here has won more golf tournaments than they've lost. You always lose more than you win. So it's just getting perspective and learning and knowing that all the learning you're going to do really takes place in those losses anyway. So just understand those. Take a tough loss. Take the things that need to be learned from that. Wash off the rest and move on. That's what the really good players are able to do that in a good way.
I don't think there's one skill, meaning like you drive the ball a long way, you putt very well, that's going to separate you. Everybody, you know, you skin a cat a different way, right? So there's different ways that players are successful. You got to figure out what you're good at and get really, really good at that. But also, you know, get better at your weaknesses. The best players, though, they use their time very, very efficiently. They know what they need to work on. They know how to work on it. You don't, as a coach, you don't have to keep reminding them, hey, let's practice instead of social hour. And the players that aren't really into it, like you said, when you get to college, you find out who really loves it. And so be efficient in your time. You know, if you've only got an hour to get work done, plan it out. Plan it 20 minutes at a time and be efficient with your time.
I've got kind of two things I wrote down. Number one is actually loving the game of golf. And I'm going to go back to a memory that everybody in this room can think about. I don't know what age it was for you. For me, you know, I'm going to call it, you know, 8 years old, 9 years old, the first time you broke like 45. You know, one of those special numbers. Maybe it's 50. Maybe it's whenever you broke 40 for the first time. Maybe it's the first time you broke par. Okay? You remember that feeling whenever you got to go home and, you know, tell mom and dad that you did it, or you told your buddies. Hang on to that feeling as long as you can. Because this game will beat you up and you will be down. Phil Mickelson, he's one of my heroes in the golf world. purely because I still think the guy goes to the golf course every day with that mindset of trying to break a course record. And I think he genuinely loves the game of golf. Some of it might be for theater, but overall, I think the guy genuinely loves the game of golf. And those are the type of kids that I think all of us are going to get attracted to. Number two is actually a little bit more golf related that I think not too many people talk about. And I think it's one of the most important pieces of actually becoming a big-time player, and that's being an escape artist. Having great escapability, attributes in your game. And we can go back and talk about Tiger Woods. When he was at his best, he didn't drive the ball the best, but he could get out of everything. Well, one of the reasons, in order to get out of certain spots, you have to have power. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have speed, but you have to have power to through the ball, to get the ball up, under, around, right? Out of bunkers, out of fairway bunkers. Doing those types of things allow you to be able to go shoot under par rounds. And if you can't do certain items that I just talked about, it's going to keep you closer to even par, shooting over par quite frequently, in my opinion. You have to be able to be an escape artist. So escapability is something that we look for. And you were talking about, or asking questions, some of my former players, Brad Dahlke, who almost won a U.S. Amateur. Brad never hit the ball very straight, but he was an escape artist. And to this day, he can paint pictures out of trees, and it's phenomenal whenever you're able to be around it and see it.
The mental game. We keep stats on all the physical parts, the drives, the fairways, the greens, the up and downs, the putts. We keep stats on all those things. Our players do, and we look through them, we study them to see where the weaknesses and strengths are. We also keep mental stats. And so we kind of did some study and we figured that for every third mental mistake, it costs you a shot. And a mental mistake is as simple as, not committing to your target. Tempo gets too fast. Indecision. All those different mental mistakes that you have. So I mentioned about learning how to evaluate your game objectively without emotion. And those stats, the mental stats, can really, if you look at those after your round, more times than not, it's not something in your swing. It's usually something that happened right here or right here. And that's where you're losing shots. And so taking a little deeper dive and paying more attention to the mental game, I think is really important. And I think the college players do, they learn to grow with that.
That's great stuff. These guys are all coaches. I had a decent career, and I want to piggyback off what she said. I'm no Ryan Miller. Like, this guy can still flat out play, but I had a decent game. And one of the things that we always kept track of was percentage of times I got to yes. And so she's saying no mental mistakes. So if I'm yes, I'm committed. If I'm yes, my tempo's not out. If I'm yes, I saw my shot. Whatever the yes is for you. So I had a specific amount of yes. And I wanted yes over 80% of the time in my golf round. Every shot, I tried to get to a yes. Did I get to a yes or not? And that's what I kept track of. So if I made a 4 on the card, I would write at the bottom of that. Did I have 4 yeses? 3 yeses? How many yeses did I have? So at the end of the day, I can tell you right now, if I was over 80% on yeses, I probably shot a good score. So that would be a great way to track it. So free advice from ex-PGA Tour. So let's go to another question. Okay, this one's for me, so I'm going to ask it. I want to know who, this is probably going to be similar to this last one, but I think this could be a more fun answer. Who's the favorite player you coached that we've never heard of, and why? Because odds are, you guys in this room, no offense, some of you guys we're probably never going to hear of about golf. So that's okay. Maybe not this week, but I want to hear. What do you think there?
Danelle Parada was a walk-on on my team at Arizona State. She came to golf camp with a broken leg and participated in camp. It was 112. And this kid just had this desire, she was athletic, she could hit the ball well. She was so smart that she was bored in class. She started a company when she was in school, unbeknownst to anybody else, because at that time you couldn't do that. And then she ended up selling her penny stock company, her college penny stocks, to a Wall Street company. She then blew out her back and figured out a way to shoot 70, won the final round of the regional championship at Stanford, and for us to actually make it to the national championship. And then she could not play because her back was so bad. And so, Danelle brought.
That's
That's a good question. I'm probably going to go with a guy by the name of Griffin Pierce. He came in with a good group of kids in 2014, so he's only been gone from our place about 3 or 4 years now. He just did his graduate work up in the athletic offices, super smart, accounting major, never made a B in his life, phenomenal guy, but one of the greatest team guys you'll ever be around. And you know, he just was always so thankful of having the opportunity to go out and prove himself every single day, even though it never quite worked out for him to play very much for us. He did play for us, and he had some super grit. His game just wasn't ever quite sharp enough from a ball striking standpoint. But to this day, I mean, I got a feeling he might be getting ready to get married here pretty soon. I can't wait to go to his wedding. You know, he's just a phenomenal guy, all around, just beauty, and always made the guys feel, I don't know, just something special. That's the way I would describe him, Griffin Pierce.
So I've always been told we're not supposed to have favorites. No, so probably the one that sticks out in my mind the most is Hillary Wood. She's a walk-on at OSU. Not a very good golfer when she got there, but we were low on numbers, having eligibility issues, and we had to go. Back then, they had the preview, and so we went to the preview, and she fired a nice little 94 first round, and struggled the whole week, and she was frustrated, and going back to the lesson of don't be afraid to fail. So she used it as motivation, worked her tail off. She was a kid that, you know, if I'm running on the treadmill, she's going to come run by me and bump it up a little higher than I am. You know, she was on the Stairmaster constantly. That was a big thing we did back then, wasn't it, Coach?
It was.
Yeah, that Stairmaster made you tough. But so we returned to the national championship, and this time she's in the lineup because she's playing really good golf and she's qualified and she's worked her butt off this year, and she shoots 74, I believe, in the final round, and we finished 4th that year. Maybe I got my years mixed up, but anyway, she played solid. She improved 20 shots from within the same season, so she sticks out in my mind just because her hard work, her attention to what it takes to get better, that it's okay to fail, but I'm going to keep putting myself out there.
Mine would be Zach Robinson. He played golf at Oklahoma State, and he came in, his biggest tournament he'd ever won in his life was the Fort Worth Star City Junior Championship. That's the best he had done. And he ended up walking on at Oklahoma State. And his freshman year, he thought he should play. We were not going to play Zach his freshman year. But in those days, you couldn't use the facilities at your university in the summer. So Zach got a job at Karsten Creek, filling divots and mowing rough all summer long so he could practice at Karsten Creek and be in front of the coaches. And I was always impressed by that. It was like, that's pretty impressive. He was an honorable mention All-American the next year, and eventually made a third-team All-American one year, and was the Byron Nelson Award winner, the college #1 student athlete in all of college golf, and helped me win a national championship my first year as coach. But that's not, the fact that he spent that summer at Karsten Creek filling divots so he could get in front of the coaches was pretty impressive. Zach and I ate breakfast every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock for 5 years. Even the year I was the women's coach, he would have breakfast with me. And we ate breakfast, we talked about life, and he'd go straight out and practice. And he was the first one there, and he was the last one to leave. And it's a perfect testament to, if you really want something badly enough, and you put the effort behind it, and you have a fair amount of talent, which he did, he did something special. 2-time All-American for a true walk-on. Pretty impressive.
Well, my favorite story is a member of the 1988 team, teammate of Maggie's and Melissa. Her name's Blue Commander. Blue came from Chicago, a fairly wealthy family. loved to play golf, had absolutely no background whatsoever. They came to visit the university, and we sat right here in this club and talked about what he wanted to do. And she was so enthusiastic and so bubbly that I was just happy to be around her. I mean, she was just fantastic. And I said, well, here's what I can do. You're gonna walk on and practice. I'm not gonna promise you anything. Just come out and be yourself. She had the worst grip I think I have ever seen a player. And it was just, everything was under and over and so on. And I gave her, I said, Blue, you can't do anything till you get this grip straightened out. And you know how hard it is to change grip. I gave her a little school ruler. And I said, I want you to hang on to that ruler. And if you ever try it, your grip is perfect. And she carried that ruler around that whole freshman year in class, on a date. I don't care where, drinking a beer, she had that ruler. And that grip changed, and her tenacity and her determination, and she listened like a sponge. And she was very important in 1988 when we won the NCAA championship. I'll never forget her.
Great story. So a couple of points I'll say there. One, I guarantee that Mike McGraw ate way more calories than Zach did at that breakfast every time. That's without a doubt. 1,000 calorie breakfast, Mike?
Sometimes 1,500.
Okay, 1,500 calorie breakfast. Look at the guy. Second thing is, I'm sure Blue was not drinking beer her freshman year.
Yeah.
I think that's an exaggeration. And then the third thing, but I would say this, is grit. That everything that you heard right there is grit. Some of you players are not going to go on to be All-Americans. Some of you are not going to go to the LPGA or PGA Tour. I hate to tell you that, it's true. Some of you will. But what I wanted you guys to hear is the grit. No matter what you do in life, if you got some grit, starting a company, accounting, I mean, like all of it, you're going to do just fine. So that's the story there. Let's go. We got a few minutes. Let's get a question from the audience. I've had my time. Does anybody have a question? No, we're probably only going to get to one, so if it's not a good question, don't raise your hand.
Come on, guys.
Anybody got a
We're not
question?
gonna
No,
share
I can
the
pull
mic.
one off this sheet, so does anybody have one out there? They're dying to
We're not
ask.
going to share the mic, so speak loudly. Parent question? You guys this is like gold up here. Do you realize this? This is golden panel of coaching. You're not going to have these people together in the same room again.
You got it.
I believe it.
Got one. Okay, go.
Just for each coach, who's the best player you ever coached?
Best player.
That's a good one.
Lopez, Nancy.
Yeah, that's easy.
Ricky Fowler.
Okay.
Caroline Headwell.
Yeah, best player. I'm gonna go with my time in Oklahoma, Max McGreevy.
Wow.
From a competitive standpoint, but Abraham Answer from a all-around game standpoint.
Hey, one question. Have you talked to him since you won? I want to hear that.
Yeah, I texted with him. We haven't talked. We're gonna talk this week.
That's awesome.
But yeah, April this week, which we're pumped about.
Yeah. And Caroline won the NCAA championship. Yeah. So and was on the Solheim Cup. That's decent. That's decent. Right?
I call her the Spanish Semi, it's Carlos.
All right. Any more questions? I think we're at 3.
We
Aren't
have
we?
3 minutes. Any more questions? You guys have been great audience, but
I got that.
Go.
The best round you ever witnessed coaching?
oh, that's a good
Doesn't
one.
have to be your player.
That's a great question.
You want to wait?
I'd probably be Robbie Shelton when I was at Alabama, 63 at Prairie Dunes, to beat a guy who shot 64, 1 up on the 18.
I don't know what she shot last round of NCAA's Caroline Headwell. It's pretty impressive.
My memory's not good enough.
Just pick the best round you saw last week.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Brad Donkey had a great final round at Eugene to help us get to the Final 8 for the first time. At the time, that was one of the best rounds I've seen.
Kelly Murphy at Pinehurst, probably the player least likely to shoot a low number, and I saw it, and it was 65. It was awesome.
Hey, Michael, I got one more question for Coach McGraw.
Okay.
How do you?
Wait, we have her
Coach
back. I
Dell,
mean,
sorry.
she saw some golf, I wanna hear.
Oh, yeah, she did. Best
What
friend.
I can remember. I think, the 70 shot the last round at New Mexico when we won our first national championship at the New Mexico course. And it was, huh? Anyway, she was walk-on, and she shot the best round of her life, and she won that tournament for us. And I'll think of her name.
The unsung hero.
Yeah, and I'll think of her name in a little bit.
Okay, Maggie, what's your question?
Well, one question to help these kids today, what's your best advice coaching to help these kids not make big numbers? Because right now, you see in junior golf, you see some big like doubles. What's your best advice to keep these kids just bogey and under, you know?
We have a stat on our team we started keeping the last few years, and it's a grit stat, and that is the percentage of time you have a penalty shot and make bogey or better. So you might start keeping that stat because that's all about grit. But usually that's also about, you're out of position with a penalty shot, get back in position. You're out of position in the trees. The miracle shots, yeah, you want to do it, but the main thing is get back in position. And it keeps you from making double bogeys. Because a double bogey you don't get back. You truly don't. So when you're out of position, get back in position immediately.
We did one thing that I'm not sure anyone has ever done. We would go out and I said, okay, today you're going to hit every drive, every other hole in the right rough or the left rough. And your goal is to not get anything higher than a bogey. And I mean, it sharpened up. I did this when I was coaching the men's team, and it sharpened them up so quickly. So if you ever want to practice on your own, or you're out with a gang, just try it. Every other hole, just hit it in the rough and see what you can do with it.
That's great advice, Coach. The teams you coach, the men's teams you coached at Tulsa, when they were there, they would drive in the rough anyway, though.
Oh, but we won the Missouri Valley.
You
Come
did,
on.
you did. All right, I think that's it. Maggie, I'm gonna turn it over to Maggie.
Thanks, Michael. We've got frozen freckles custard for you guys on your way out. If you didn't get a rain jacket, make sure you get your rain jacket. And let's give all these coaches a round of applause.